Curious minds, welcome to ProjexCellence ProDigy, my YouTube channel, dedicated to continuous learning and growth in the realm of project management. I'm Govind, a PMP certified project manager with over 15 years of experience overseeing power plant projects. Let me share a quote from a renowned American author, Napoleon Hill, best known for his book, Think and Grow Rich. He said, your environment, the world in which you live and work, is a mirror of your attitudes and expectations. This quote highlights the profound impact that external factors, environment, and surroundings can have on an individual's life, decision, and growth. This concept is equally applicable to the businesses and projects operated by them. Environmental influences on projects. In this episode, we will explore the impact of environmental factors on projects. These factors include both external and internal conditions that can affect various aspects of a project planning, execution, monitoring, and closing. They include a wide range of variables that can influence the project's scope, schedule, cost, quality, resources, risk, and stakeholder satisfaction. Understanding these influences is crucial for effective project management as they can either present challenges or offer opportunities. These influences are typically categorized into two main groups: EEF, Enterprise Environmental Factors, OPAs, Organizational Process Assets. Let's delve into each of them in detail. So first is Enterprise Environmental Factors, EEF. EEFs are the conditions which are not under the control of project team, and those can impact, constrain, or direct the project. These conditions can be internal or external to the organization. Let's go through the internal EEFs. What are those? Organizational culture, structure, and governance. It includes the vision, mission, values, and organizational hierarchy. Organization culture basically is the values, beliefs, and behaviors that characterizes the organization. It affects projects in several ways. How is its communication style, whether it is open, transparent, or closed communication, which might hinder information flow. How simple or complex its decision process, time taking or multi-level approval, or collaborative culture which gives the result quickly. How the organization motivates its employees morale, what kind of organization structure it has, functional, matrix, or projectized, how strict or flexible the governance structure. So these all factors are established by the organization and impact how projects are managed and executed. So the project team has no direct control over these factors. Next factor is infrastructure and resources availability. Infrastructure and resources means the facilities, equipment, and technology provided by the organization. These resources are part of the operational environment and are determined by organizational decisions, not the project specific decisions. So, the project team must operate within these constraints and cannot change the organizational decision regarding the resource allocation. Next, stakeholder risk tolerance. This is the degree of risk acceptable to the stakeholders. So different stakeholders such as project sponsors, team members, customers, regulatory bodies, they all have different level of comfort with the risk. So which influences their expectations and decisions. Geographic distribution of facilities and resources will have a profound impact on a project from planning to execution. Logistic and supply chain will be the biggest challenge. Delays in transit and the longer lead time will impact the project schedule and it will affect cost too. Custom regulations will be the another challenge to move the resources from one place to other. In case of human resources, if the team is located in remote places, so the proper coordination, collaboration, and effective communication will greatly affect the project outcomes. So, again, let me tell you here the project team will have the limited control over these factors, and these will be managed at the organization level. Next is information technology software. So nowadays, the project planning, scheduling, tracking are being done using the advanced softwares like Jira, Asana, Microsoft Project. So which impact the project in a great extent. So resource allocation and efficient utilization also being done using the various software, real-time communication using tool like Zoom, Microsoft Team, and Slack is a very common nowadays. So selection of software are done at the organization level and which has to followed by all the projects across the organization. Employee capability. So this is another crucial factor. Human resources expertise impacts the projects. If organization have skilled and experienced employees, so they can provide more accurate estimate for time, cost, and resources, and they can assess the risk before time. They will come up with innovative solutions and improvements that enhance the project outcome. All this hiring, training, and development process happen at organization level, and project team individually has no direct control on this. So the project team must work with the available human resources, making employee capability as an environmental factor. So we saw these are the few environmental factors mentioned here which certainly affect the project and the outcomes, and project team has no direct control on them as these are controlled at strategic level or the organization level. So next topic is external EEFs, factors outside the organization that can influence the project success are called external EEFs. We discussed in last slide about internal EEFs. Those are the factors within the organization and can manage and controlled by the organization up to some extent. Here, I say by the organization, not by the project team. So please don't get confused. But in case here, external EFs, these are beyond the control of organization. So project must adapt to these factors. So let's go through these marketplace condition. So here we are talking about the economic trends and what is the competition in the market, what is the demand and supply in the market. So marketplace conditions are the external factors that affect all projects within an industry, not only limited to the organization within an industry. They are influenced by the broader economy, competition, and market demands, which the project team cannot control. These conditions set the context in which the project must operate. Next is the legal and regulatory environment. The legal and regulatory environment consists the external laws and regulations that govern how the project must be conducted. So these rules are imposed by the government bodies and regulatory agencies, not by the organization. So the project team must comply with the external requirement. Cultural and social environment. So cultural and social factors are the part of the external environment in which the project operates. In the last slide, we talk about the culture of the organization. Here we are talking about the outside culture and social factors. So these factors influence how projects are perceived and accepted by the society. So the project team must adapt to these external influences. So political environment. Political environment, it includes the external factors such as the government policy and the political stability, so which can significantly impact the projects. These factors are also beyond the control of the project team and the organization and are determined by the broader political landscape. Technological advances. So, every day the technological advances are happening. So these refer the innovative and new technologies emerging in the broader industry or field. So these factors influence the project planning and execution, but are not controlled by the organization. The project team must adapt to these external technological trends. Government or industry standards. So government standards can be laws and regulations set by the local, national or international government authorities like environmental norms, health and safety rules, labor laws, tax regulations and data privacy laws. So these all factors will affect the organization and its projects. Industry standards means the various ISO standards as ISO 9001 for the quality management, ISO 14001 for the environmental management, FDA regulations for the pharmaceutical, financial regulations for the banking and finance. So these all factors will impact the project and its outcome. Financial consideration. Financial considerations such as exchange rates, inflation, and interest rates are determined by the broader economic environment. So these factors will impact the project cost and financial planning, but these are beyond the control of the project team. Physical environmental elements. These are like the geographic location, which will affect the proximity to the resources, weather and climate conditions, hot, cold, or rainy, or any kind of natural disaster and hazard, or soil quality, air quality. These all external factors that will affect the project execution. So the project team must plan and respond to these elements which are not controlled by the organization and project team. So let's say, for an example, if you have a project in a seismic zone, in that case, the design and engineering standard must be withstand with the earthquakes. So you need to consider special building material and safety protocols for your project. So what will happen? It will increase your project cost and the timeline, and it will definitely need the special expertise to carry out that project. So these all were the external EFs we discussed, which can impact the project and project outcomes. Next topic is organizational process assets, OPAs. OPAs are the plans, processes, policies, procedures, and knowledge base specific to and used by the performing organization. OPAs are integral to the project success as they provide a repository of organizational knowledge, best practices, and proven methodologies. They are grouped into two categories. Number one is processes, policies, and procedures. Second one is organizational knowledge base. Generally, the assets in the first category are not updated as part of the project work. Processes, policies, and procedures are usually established by the Project Management Office (PMO) or any other function outside of the project. But the assets in the second category here, uh, they are updated throughout the project with the project information. For an example, information of the project performance, lessons learned, how is the financial performance or performance metrics, any issues are going on or defects, all are continually updated throughout the project. Processes, policies, and procedures. These are formal and informal guidelines that help manage the project and ensure the consistent project delivery. So, these are the standard methodologies and frameworks that guide the project execution and control. Like, for example, agile methodologies, waterfall methodology. So these processes outline the phases of the project life cycle, like initiation, planning, execution, monitoring and controlling, and closing. So including any specific task and deliverable for each phase. And organizational policies. So these are the guidelines, standards, and procedures for the project execution and control. These policies ensure the compliance with the legal requirement, industry standard, and the organizational values, providing framework for decision making and the problem solving. Quality management processes. So these are the standard and procedures for ensuring the product and process quality. Like, for example, ISO 9001, Six Sigma, or Total Quality Management, TQM. So these processes include the quality planning, quality assurance, and quality control activities to monitor and improve the quality of both project processes and outputs. Second category is organizational knowledge bases. So these are repositories of information and documentation that provide historical insights and lessons learned from the previous projects, like historical information. So these are the records of previous project performance, project archives, and documentation. This information helps in benchmarking, forecasting, and improving current project plans and decisions based on the past experiences. Lessons learned. So these are the documentation of experiences and insights gained from the past projects. These documents identify best practices and avoid the repeating past mistakes. So thereby they improve the future project performance. Configuration management. These are the procedures for maintaining and controlling project documentation and ensuring the version control. So this configuration management includes the processes for change control, document control, and ensure that all project artifacts are up to date and accessible to the appropriate stakeholders. Financial database. This is the information on project budgets, cost estimates, and financial performance. So these databases are used to monitor the project spending, manage invoices, forecast the cost, and ensure the project remain within the budget, providing crucial data for financial planning and analysis. Sometimes there is bit confusion in differentiating between OPAs and internal EEFs. So there is the key difference lies in the control and tailoring capability. So OPAs can tailored by the project team to meet the project specific needs, whereas the internal EEFs, which we saw in the previous slide, are the external conditions that remain outside the project team's direct control or ability to modify. So this is the difference between the OPAs and internal EEFs. Let's try to understand the EEF and OPAs with simple real life example, as we always do in our all the episodes to make the concept easy. Let's assume a person named Govind is a project manager. and he is managing a project which is his life journey, his routine jobs, objectives, and goals. So there will be lot of constraint, challenges will come along his path of life, isn't it? Economic conditions of the country where Govind lives will directly impact his life project in form of job opportunity, earning, inflation. Any political change in that country will also affect him in form of policy change or any regulations. Social and cultural norms are another key factors which will influence his lifestyle. So normally social and cultural norms are the unwritten rules, expectations and behaviors that govern how people interact and behave in the society. So now question is, does Govind has any control over these three factors? Economic condition, political change and social and cultural norms. The answer is big no. He has to adjust his life project according to these environmental factors. So these are the EEFs. On the other hand, Kovind's personal knowledge, skills, and experience, which he has accumulated over the years, will guide him in steering his life project in the right direction. So, these assets will enable him to have good job prospects and adapt to changing environmental conditions. So, his personal values and ethics, support system from family, friends, colleagues, and mentors, along with a healthy lifestyle and continuous learning, are all the assets that will help Govind achieve success in his life project. So these assets are known as OPAs. So this is the simple example to understand the difference between the EF and OPAs. Next topic is common framework to analyze project EEFs. Companies use various frameworks to analyze the project enterprise environmental factors. These frameworks help in identifying, understanding, and managing the external and internal conditions that can impact a project. So, by analyzing EEFs, companies can align their strategies with the external environment. They can anticipate the changes and adapt accordingly. Companies can develop contingency plans and mitigate risks that could adversely affect their projects and operations. So here are few frameworks we will discuss. The very common is the PESTEL analysis. PESTEL is an acronym which stands for political, economic, social, technological, legal, and environmental. Political means assess the government policies, tax policies, trade restrictions, and the political stability. Economic, we analyze the economic growth, exchange rates, inflation rates, and interest rates. Social, examine cultural norms, demographics, population growth rate, and social trends. Under technological, review the technological advancements, innovations, automation, and R&D activities. Legal, consider laws, regulations, labor laws, consumer protection laws, and health and safety. Environmental, look at environmental protection laws, climate changes, sustainability, and waste management. So, while carrying the PESTEL analysis, we will identify the relevant factors. We will gather the information on the political, economic, social, technological, legal, and environmental factors that are relevant to the business. So once we identify, then we will analyze the impact. We will assess the potential impact of each factor on the business. We will determine whether they pose any opportunity or threats. After that, we will prioritize the factors. We will rank the factors based on their significance, how significant are they, and the likelihood of their impact. Develop strategies will be the next step. We will formulate the strategies to mitigate risks or leverage opportunities identified through the analysis. Monitor changes. So this is the regular follow-up. We will do the regular review and update the pestle analysis to reflect changes in the external environment. Next framework is TECOP analysis. So TECOP also same factors are analyzed in this framework. So technical, environmental, commercial, operational, and political. Next is the VUCA analysis. VUCA is the acronym of volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. Volatility means things change quickly and unpredictably. Uncertainty, the future is unclear and it's hard to predict what will happen next. And complexity, situations have many interconnected parts and making them difficult to understand. Ambiguity means information which is confusing and open to the different interpretations. So, for the VUCA analysis, first we need to identify the areas and gather the information where the rapid and significant changes are occurring. Aspects of projects and environment where outcomes are uncertain, complex, and information is unclear. So, we need to analyze each VUCA element and evaluate its impact on the project. SWOT analysis. This is the another powerful framework to analyze the EEFs. So, two components, strength and weakness. These are used to measure the internal EEFs, and opportunity and threats. These are basically used to assess the external EEF. So strength means internal attributes that are helpful to achieve the project objectives, like skilled and experienced team members, strong organizational culture, or robust IT infrastructure. And weaknesses, internal attributes that are harmful to achieve the project objective, like lack of expertise in critical area, poor internal communication, or limited budget or resources. Whereas opportunity, these assess the external EF. So external factors that the project could exploit to its advantage, like emerging market or new customer segment, technological innovations, or favorable regulatory changes. And threats, another external factors that could cause trouble for the project, like new competitors entering in the market, changes in industry regulations, and economic recession. Next framework is Porter's five forces. Michael Porter, a well-known business consultant and professor at Harvard University, he came up with the five critical external factors that affect strategies which are being developed by organizations in any industry. So these are called as a Porter's five forces. So what are those? One is competitive rivalry within the industry. So Porter believes that the intensity or the level of competition in an industry is one of the main forces that determines the profitability of that industry. In this high competitive market, the competitors aggressively try to take market share from their rivals. And this intensity can be affected by the number of competitors, the size of the market, the growth of the industry. And most of time there is a situation of price war between the competitors, and the consumer take advantage of this situation. Second is threat of new entrants. This means the threat that new competitors pose to the existing businesses in an industry. A profitable industry will attract the new competitors. If it is easy for the new businesses to enter the industry, then the businesses already operating in that industry will face a greater risk. Next is threat of substitute products or services. So substitute product is not a similar product from a competitor, but It is a different product or service altogether, but that performs the same purpose in the mind of the consumer. The tea and coffee are the substitute of the each other. So these two are the perfect example of substitute product. Next is the bargaining power of suppliers. Supplier bargaining power is another force that shape the competitive measure of an industry because it limits the ability of the seller to make a profit. Next, the bargaining power of buyers. So, buyer bargaining power means the amount of pressure customer can put on a seller. The buyer wants the lower price, he wants the increased service or improve the quality of the product. From the viewpoint of the seller, an industry where the buyer has high bargaining power is not particularly the attractive because competitors will have many possible strategies for easily taking the customers away. So, high buying bargaining power decreases potential profits if the seller responds to the buyer's tactics. So, these were the five common frameworks which companies use to analyze the enterprise environmental factors. Before we end this session, let's recap what we have covered. We started by identifying two types of influences on projects: enterprise environmental factors EEFs and organizational process assets OPAs. We discussed internal and external EEFs in detail. We also talked about OPAs and their two categories: processes and policies, and organizational knowledge bases. Then we learned about various frameworks that organizations use to identify EEFs. These frameworks help the organizations to understand the internal and external factors affecting their projects, allowing them to make better strategic decisions. So that's all for now. I hope you have enjoyed the content and the delivery. Let's take a short break and I'll come back soon with more project management material. Before we part ways, I'd like to ask you to kindly show your support by liking and subscribing to my channel. Your engagement means a lot to me. Namaste, goodbye, Sampai Jumpa.